Okay, I know there's a lot to cover in this exercise because we're just basically learning all of it right away, right off the bat. But so we now know how to place an image, um, select it, move it around, undo that, Command Z, or File, sorry, Edit, Undo. We can move a placed image within that frame. I can obviously resize that image within the frame too. I can, just like um, this little selection tool, I can grab one of the handles here at the corner or the side. Now resizing, you just have to be very, very careful that you do it proportionally. And proportionally means that as opposed to grabbing one of the handles and you see that you've now squished the people into some unnatural proportion. And you can see in your top control here, we can see the vertical and the horizontal percentages, and they're different here. So if they're different, it's unproportional, it's squished, and I will always grade you on making sure that you have images proportionally resized. If you accidentally do that, you can always just click on any one of these and go back to 100. But if you want to resize an image within the frame, there's many different ways to do this. One of them is to use that white selection tool and click on one of the handles, but always hold down the shift key. Hold down the shift key. Now when you resize it, you'll see that those proportions now maintain, they're the same, so there's nothing wrong with an image. It is resized proportionately. Again, hold down the shift key, grab one of the handles and click, hold, and drag. Now, there are many, many, many different ways to do this. Say, for instance, the image that you place comes in really, really small. Sometimes you'll have an image that's teeny tiny. If I, so excuse me, if I do this, place a different image that is teeny tiny, all of these ones are actually going to be quite big. So there's not going to be a problem. But if I just, what is this? That is a tiny file. Let's see if this just works. Yeah, so you can see this image that I placed in here is small. It doesn't, it's not to the page edge or the bleed line. Sometimes they'll come in really, really small, and that just really depends on the file. So in this case, I can click on the links panel and I can see that it's a small file. It's just not a big one. It's actually 72 dpi, so it's just a small low-res file. It's actually enlarged a little bit right now, so when I click on it, actually, no, it's a little bit smaller. So effective PPI, because I've shrunk it. You can see that when I click and hold and drag, resize, the PPI increases or decreases. So there's different ways to resize. I can click on the arrow, sorry, the handle with the white selection tool, hold down the shift and resize to the frame. I can also resize by doing something called fitting. And this is a really easy thing to do, and I like to do it. It's very handy. There's 3 different ways to do it. One is if you click on Object and you go Fitting, and now you'll see that there are many, many different options. Let's close my door so I don't hear my kids. But always, be very, very careful that you always, always, always click the first one, Fill Frame Proportionately. And when you do that, you'll see that it goes to that bleed line. It will always, if I just resize this, the frame, you'll see that now when I click Fitting, oh sorry, I was doing it up here, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally, it will adjust it to the frame size. Now I can also go right click and go Fitting and Fill Frame Proportionately. And if I was on a bigger monitor, there's actually going to be a little Fitting preset button up here. So if I expand the size of the frame, you will have, your monitor might have these extra little buttons here that allow you to, if you just kind of, you'll notice them, that, oh, wrong one, that there'll be kind of these preset fitting buttons. And when you hover over them, the little text will come up and one of them will say, fill frame proportionally, fitting fill frame proportionally. I don't have that ability because my monitor is really small, so I always just go right click, fitting fill frame proportionally, or go up into the object, fitting fill frame proportionally. If you accidentally click on any of the other ones, I will notice and you will get marks taken off. So if I accidentally go fitting, say fit content, sorry if I fit content to frame, I will notice that the image is squished, and when you click on it, you'll see that those horizontal and vertical percentages are different from each other. And it's always going to be really, really obvious to me that something is squished or fit unproportionately. So just be very, very, very adamant about fitting fill frame proportionally. Or if you're just resizing using your white arrow key, that you're always, zoom out here, control minus, that that you're always, where's my frame here? That you're always, always, always holding down the shift key when you drag one of the handles. Otherwise, if you don't, it's just going to look squished and unproportional or disproportional or whatever the word is.